Appointment viewing here on NewsX every weekday at 6 o'clock, where we, over the past almost 4 months, have brought together some of India's finest entrepreneurs, thinkers, people out there becoming wealth creators. It is so important, given the context of the shock value that we are beginning to experience of what the lockdown actually impacted us in the levels of our GDP. The stock market seems to be on its own trip. It is possible for us to recover, but if we apply 2 or 3 close factors, we will probably recover faster. Number one, an appreciation within all of us that while we compete in a free market, we are also in the same team, the same boat called India. If India does better, we all do better. And the second equally important realization that what we are capable of producing here in India can be equally good, equally disruptive, and equally world-changing as anywhere in the world. We often give credit to foreign companies and seek foreign investment and go gaga over Indians who make it big abroad. Well, here are a list of Indians who are making it big right here, people you need to be introduced to. We do this in partnership with Business World, as always. Let me quickly take the opportunity of introducing our panel on the telecast tonight. We have with us on the show Diksha Deo. She is the founder and CEO of IncubeSense. Arun Prasad Durairaj. He is CEO and co-founder of Flinto Learning Solutions. Amit Monga, co-founder of ANS Commerce. Teja Gudluru, founder and CEO of Udo Now. Raghav Kansal, CEO and founder of ET Media Labs. And as always, Dr. Anurag Batra, editor-in-chief of Business World. Dr. Batra, good to see you on the telecast. Can you set up this conversation for us?
Thank you so much, Bishop. You're right that seems to be a disconnect between the stock market, what I call the Dalal Street, and the real street. Right now we are possibly seeing a spillover of a healthcare crisis to an economic crisis, and most businesses are feeling the heat. You can see it in the quarterly results of some of the companies. And dare I say, I think the next 2 months are going to be even more tough. I think we've not reached the peak, and maybe I'm being more cautious. I believe that I think the economic activity over the next 3 months, because of Diwali and IPL, may shore up a little bit temporarily, but overall, the next 18-12 months will be very, very challenging. You're right. The one thing the Prime Minister has done, and we must give credit to him, over the next few years, the feeling that he's built that we can do it, we can be self-reliant and we can build it for ourselves and for the country. I mean, that's a change of mindset. It happens over a period of years. The Prime Minister has instilled that confidence in each person who is attempting to do anything in India. Let me start with Teja Gudluru. Teja, we've been doing this broadcast for the last 4 months. We've talked to entrepreneurs of all shapes and sizes. Tell us, how have been the last 6 months for you? What have you done to pivot in your business? And has anybody around you benefited from the economic package the government has given?
Anurag, hi, and thank you, NewsX, for calling me again on this show. So you asked me about 3 questions, Anurag. To start with, I think I echo your thoughts in terms of being cautiously optimistic at this point of time. But if you talk about the last 6 months, it has been a difficult phase for all of us. And as a startup, I think we've seen most of those difficulties on our side as well. But it is picking up. So I think that's a great news. I think as people get used to the new normal, I think the encouragement, and I agree with you in terms of the narrative around the Indian government right now, supporting local apps, supporting Indian, I think is seeing a huge benefit for a lot of startups. And we are seeing to see that increase in the way people are accepting Indian startups as well. But in terms of anybody around me that has benefited from the package, well, the government hasn't given a clear pathway in terms of whether startups are included in the MSME or not when it comes to the stimulus package. So personally, in my experience, I haven't actually seen anybody around me get that benefit. So,
okay, Teja. I think one of the question I'd like to ask all of you is that, there is a real worry that some of the entrepreneurs and startups and founders who've been enduring for the last 6 months because their revenues have come down. They've not been able to raise another round of funding. Will they survive this? Have you seen a lot of startups around you kind of folding up or getting subdued, if not folding up? I'll come back to you with this. Diksha, last time you were on my show, on our show, we couldn't hear you. I hope where you're able to unmute yourself and talk to us this time. Diksha, how have been the last 6 months for you? What has it done to your business? And how do you see the business and economy going forward?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. First of all, I really appreciate Anuragji and NewsX complete my fraternity.
I'm Anurag B. I'm not Anurag G. I'm Anurag B. You can call me AB. You can call me AB.
Sure, AB. Sure, AB. Next time, yeah. So, good question. I think as far as a startup is concerned, any pandemic or anything is very much challenging as a part of everybody's life out there. But until unless you're compassionate enough to solve a problem, I think as far as my business is concerned, we have been doing contactless from like 2017 era. And for us, it's a high priority stage where people come up and say, hey, I really want to go with contactless, right? So we really don't have to change the business division for us. It's something that the query increase exponentially for us. So that's something pretty good. But here, what we are facing a challenge in terms of the complete fraternities to solve people's problem. That means that if there are people who might say that, the price is high, or maybe there are companies who might say that I want to go for a bulk purchase, right? But they don't want to have funds to do that. So yeah, of course, we need to make a pipeline wherein which maybe we can make a credit out of it, or maybe we can give them some time duration so that they can, freeze their timelines that per se. Apart from that, I think one important factor that I always consider is Atmanirbhar, not from 2020 after the COVID, but Atmanirbhar has to be the first Indian motto that people should look up to. We have started this in 2017. हर चीज आप डिजाइन करो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स भारत में, आप मेक करो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स भारत में, and then people will be, you don't have to consume outside product, you have to make your products and let people respect that and let people consume your Indian products. That only the point that matters, that people will love it and the GDP rate and the profitability itself, grow. So I think that's a great phase where people should understand the adaptability of Indian products to make a Atmanirbhar Bharat as of all. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Diksha. We also want to come to the fact that, knowledge and creative enterprises are the future. Digital is not only an enabler, now it's become a driver. If
Yes.
you're not a digital business, if you're not a tech business, I don't think you're optimized or maximized, you're underutilized. Arun, you heard Teja and Diksha talk about what they have done in the pandemic. How do they see the economy? Your opening comments. One, how have been the last 180 days for you? Second, what has it done to your business? And third, do you see business and economy coming back to normal soon? And Teja, I didn't like your word. This is not the new normal. It's the new abnormal. Everything is abnormal about what's happening. Like, there's nothing normal. What's normal? So Arun, your view.
So Anurag, let me split that question into two parts. What has it done to my industry, and what has it done to my business, right? I think what it has done to the industry is, so we are in the industry of preschool and the preschool for children and dealing with daycares for kids under the age of 7-8 years, right? Unfortunately, this was never in the radar before COVID. It's never in the radar even during COVID, and it's a 90%. Fragmented mom and pop run business, which has been completely ignored, and it's a bloodbath right now. I think the industry is completely shattered, where all the small businesses, because they were ignored, they resorted. I mean, the only decision they could resort to is shut it down right now. So a vast majority of the preschool daycare industry have actually vanished. It's only time has to tell how many of them is going to come back. And if they come back, what are the new norms going to look like? There is no transparency around it. And the unfortunate part of this is that, the daycares and preschools are actually a part of our social fabric, right? It's part of the lifestyle. It's part of the new lifestyle era. And this is enabling a lot of things like dual income families and more women getting back to work. There is women participation in the work, which is all getting impacted because of what's happening in the industry. A lot of ifs and buts about whether the industry will recover, whether these players will come back into the industry, depends on what the new norms are going to look like. Whether people are going to continue working from home, is there a safety standards that's going to be more stringently implemented in the daycares, and how the schooling system is going to change, because I mean we haven't gotten a clarity around K-12 yet, right? So this is what the industry has gone through so far, and and that's what the last 6 months we have managed to turn around and pivot and actually I would say solve a lot of these problems for parents. So we have been a big advocate of early learning from home. Taking early learning to home has been the big part of our business, and we have always innovated in that sector. So when kids can't go to preschools anymore, we turned around and said, now let the preschools come home with our early learning kits that can be delivered to home, which still gives a multi-sensory experience for the children and helps them to get school ready and be actively engaged at home, which has actually seen a massive traction in the industry. And I think a lot of the players are now following suit to see if they can also take the solution to home rather than waiting for the kids to actually come to schools.
Thank you so much, Arun.
Yeah.
The opening comments to a short one, and then we'll do a discussion. Both
Yeah.
me and Rishabh will join. Rishabh is letting me lead this. I'm grateful to him. Amit, your opening comments on where the economy is headed. What has it done to your business? And has anybody around you received a economic stimulus? Have you seen somebody benefiting?
Thanks, Anurag, for the opportunity. We are in the business of e-commerce enablement. We work with a lot of brands and help them manage their e-commerce business.
Basically,
So I'll
you're
talk
telling you're a
about-
rich man. No one will come and borrow some money from you. Don't worry.
It's a good time to be.
Soon.
It's a good time to be in e-commerce. Definitely, COVID tailwinds have been behind the growth, and even from a perspective of, I'll talk about how it has. How my business has been impacted positively, negatively with the scenarios, and also from the perspective of the brands that we work with. So for us, initial few months were challenging with regards to the lockdown clarities in terms of how supply chains are going to work out, whether essential categories is the only category which are allowed, not what will happen to non-essential. So the initial 1 month, 2 months were very difficult to manage. But as the lockdown easing happened, we saw the impact of people moving to digital, growth happening in terms of the order volumes. Fortunately for us, we reached our pre-COVID numbers in the month of June, and it has been a upward story from there on. With regards to brands that we work with, for essential brands, especially FMCGs, it's a good time for e-commerce, but I think it's a mixed bag because a lot of their offline business is getting impacted right now, with malls being shut, with a lot of restrictions being put in place, people not going outside. So definitely major offline business, which is a major component, is impacted, but they are trying to do the recovery by focusing on digitization, by focusing on e-commerce, and picking up from there.
Thank you so much, Amit. The digital economy has become the e-commerce economy. I keep telling people these days that I'm not in the media business. I've been saying this for 15 years. I'm in the business of building communities, both B2C and B2B, and doing commerce in them. So I understand where you're going in the e-commerce business because of the contactless nature of it has benefited. I keep saying we're in the 3C economy, the collaborative economy, the compassionate and caring economy, which is healthcare, well-being, and the contactless economy, which is e-commerce. Raghav, you heard your fellow panelists. What are your comments on what is the pivot that is happening around most businesses? When do you see the business and economy coming back? And have you seen entrepreneurs benefiting from the economic stimulus around you?
Okay, so in my experience, thanks Anurag. In my experience, I think I have not seen anyone who has so far benefited from the entire setup. In terms of as a personal contact, I do not have anyone in my network. And in terms of overall economy, overall digitalization, I feel most of the clients we are working with, most of the brands we are working with, since we are into digital marketing and analytics space, So we are seeing a absolute seriousness of all the brands, all the businesses towards the entire digitalization as a core in their way of operating. So companies who were traditionally offline operating like very much in a traditional manner, they're also like taking digitally very seriously. I see a lot of movement of the digital marketing budgets from offline mediums, from TV, from print, happening towards OTT platforms, over YouTube, over Facebook. So all in all, at least in our experience, the lot of businesses, they are moving and taking digital as a very, very serious medium.
Okay. And tell us, data is the new oil. This was said 6 years back. It looks like it is the new oil. Okay?
Absolutely.
And tell us, what can businesses do to build themselves with data and insights businesses? Give us a few examples of businesses you've seen in the last 6 months who have pivoted from a traditional model to a data and insights business. Give us a sense.
Okay. So one of the brands we are working with, which has their offline retail setup across India. So they have been like a very traditional business run by a traditional family, and the entire business, entire gamut was offline. In last 6 months, somehow we have seen, although they had already initiated the digitalization of their business, and we have been working with them for around 2 years, but the kind of aggression, the kind of speed at which they've actually adopted digital in last 6 months, it has been totally different. When it comes to utilizing data, so since it's a traditional family business, being there since decades, so they already had a lot of consumer data and a lot of insight into the customer that was not being used that effectively. But the moment you start taking digital in a much more serious, much more bigger manner, because the country, the consumers have also started to adopt that as a bigger, embrace that as a first mode of going and buying products. So basically taking their offline data into and digitalizing it, marrying it with your digital marketing channels data, be it AdWords data, Facebook data, analytics data, and trying to use that, because the challenge, it's not like the all in all their business has grown. The share of digital in their overall revenue has grown. So they need to optimize their spend, they need to optimize their overall efficiencies in terms of marketing. So what we have started to see is, number one, they have gone digital in a big way. The kind of aggression they have brought in, that is really like unexpected, I'll put it that way, because that was not that big a priority from the top management. Secondly, the use of data has become much more important, because now they cannot afford those inefficiencies into their business systems
So well
across
said.
all different verticals.
Rather so well said. And I second you that, we as I also am the founder of Exchange for Media, which is India's #1 marketing, advertising, media communication business, profitable for the last 14 years, and the most impactful. I can tell you that data and insights lead the conversation in our business. And Rishabh, all media businesses have to become data and insights business. That's how you're able to deal with Facebook or Google, or you'll be eaten up by them. So really, I want to ask one question to all of you, and I want a very straight and brief answer. I'll start with Diksha. What is that one thing that you added onto your personality or to your way of working or to your belief system post-COVID that is here for you to guide you throughout your life? Diksha, first you, then I'll go to Teja, Arun, Amit, and Raghav. You'll have to unmute yourself, Diksha. Unmute is the second most used word of 2020. First, COVID. So go ahead.
Thank you. That's a wonderful question, Anurag. First of all, I think personality, I always say, like I've given so many tech talks, I always say to people that if you don't communicate, nothing gonna happen. So here, what happened, everybody has this digital laptop, or probably they use communication platform, and everybody's day by day they're learning. First thing, the communication. I mean, the art of communicating, be it any language. The most important way of communicating is not the words, but the way of your expression. So that is first thing, which everybody should, getting into, and they love to see themselves. They can actually record themselves and make a analytic ki main kitna acha kar pa raha hu, right? So that's one thing. Yeah, of course. I mean, for everybody. So if I'll talk about the second most important factor is that, the use of digital media. Like you mentioned that data is the new oil. I say infrastructure is the new oil for next 20 decades. So that is important, because the kind of data you store, you analyze it, and then you have to place into an infrastructure. That means a data center or probably any hardware. So that is very important in next coming years. Like you see Amazon or the big companies in the market, they are very big giants, but they are not working only on servers.
Very few people know that Amazon Web Services is a very large business that started as a captive business, and now everything is on the cloud. Governments are working on a cloud. The business schools are on the cloud. The educational institutions are on the cloud. So you have to prepare yourself for the cloud.
Right.
Teja, though I wanted to know more a personal trait, Diksha, you've given us a trend, but I want to know what has changed in your own way of doing business, your thinking, your belief system. For example, for me, focus. I keep saying to myself, you have to distinguish between activity and progress. So can you do less to achieve more? Less is more. So that's the one thing that has changed in my brain. Not that I have one, but if I had one, it would change in that. Teja, your point of view.
So I think for a long time, and probably Raghav will second with me on this, people have told us, look, the best way to reach out to consumers is online, right? But thanks to the pandemic, everybody got online. So the digital marketing space has become a very noisy place. So now I think the biggest change that we had to do in our business, because we were desperate to reach out to people to say, look, we run an app that can let you freelance, and we are the app in India that lets you freelance at your will. But then when we came online, we realized that there is so much noise around this. So then we had to go back to the traditional way of mixing it up. So be there on digital, but also do milk your networks, if I can use that word. Reach out to people, reach out individually. So I think the human connect as an aspect, I think is something that we've notched up, which I think we have reduced over the last couple of years, focusing only on these Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn platforms.
I agree with you. I believe the more immersion of technology goes up as we become more impersonal using technology. The value of human touch.
Anurag, I just wanted to have a quick interjection here, and let me ask Teja this, because, taking from the point that, you just made, now, many of us facing the same kind of issue where we don't own our own platform anymore, right? In the end, Facebook and YouTube and Twitter already own us. They own both the users and they both own the content creation agencies. And we can hopefully make a cut out of them. But Teja Gudluru, in some case, in some understanding of the term, you are creating your own platform, right? You have your own app. Right. But then that platform is dependent upon, the Androids and the Apple stores of the world. We've seen what's happened with a major mobile games maker, which is try to take on Android, and that's a multi-billion-dollar business that has had the might to take on Android. When do you think we reach a stage where we are actually platform owners in this country?
Well, it's going to take a long time. Let's be very, very honest with that, right? Because the dependency on apps like Facebook, and to actually know that even if I post something on my wall, only 10% of my friends actually would see it.
Yeah.
The algorithm is that way. So from that perspective, to come out of that consumer behavior of being dependent on LinkedIn, I'll give you a small example if I'm allowed. Recently, about 150 large global companies threatened Facebook that will stop advertising, and this is retail.
Yeah, right? And the biggest Facebook in the company, Unilever, you name them, they're the biggest ones.
But they're back again because they figured out there's no other platform. So until we find another alternative to break this game, unfortunately, I think we're still dependent on these platforms to kind of, in fact, it's become more of an identity crisis if you're not on Facebook.
Okay, no, I'll give you an example. So in some regards, we here in the traditional media as a TV, right? This is our platform. Yes, we run our satellites and you require license. So we are, of course, borrowing off other platforms. If you take off all the satellites, we also can't function. But Raghav Kansal, in the end, the bitter realization that we've all had in the media is that, we are now being forced to function in platforms whose algorithms we can try to understand. But trust me, I've been doing this for a very long period of time. One tweak they make in the algorithm and your entire strategy changes completely. Absolutely. And that they do at their own will. Okay, we don't know what tweak they made, but if you spend 4 years trying to figure out how the algorithm works and they make one tweak, you have to spend another 4 years figuring it out, and that's how they control us. In the end, Do we see some hope in this country that the endemic platforms are coming, both in terms of app? I mean, if you had a social media strategy on TikTok 6 months ago, right, that doesn't work anymore, right? If you were thinking that, okay, you'll get in all these PUBG guys, that doesn't work anymore. So how adaptive is it, and when do you see a platform emerging in India? Raghav?
So I think like when you say that they're controlling us by tweaking their algorithms, I have slightly different take there. I think even these big platforms are being controlled by the consumers at the end of the day.
Fingers crossed.
example-
Okay, fingers crossed. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not like the control is 100%, and I'll say that they do have control in multiple ways, but it's not a lost battle in its entirety. So like we have been closely working with Google and Facebook over last 10 years, and especially following up these algorithms in a very closed manner. And what we have realized is that at the end of the day, if you are running your business on first principles, so for example, I talk about like search engine optimization. If fundamentally you're focused on consumers and serving their needs well, you're creating genuine content. So no matter what tweak they're doing in their entire algorithms, it's favoring the clients you're working with. So rather than chasing the algorithms and modeling your business around how they are looking at your business.
That's a
model
very
it
interesting
around consumers.
perspective, because my limited experience with this has been that the stuff that we do really well, that has come out flawlessly, and we think this is really, really seriously good content. I promise you, sometimes there's just one 30-second breaking news that we sometimes run, which is just a text plate and with a broken phono, and that is the #1 YouTube video of the month. Okay. So sometimes it defies expectations of what goes viral and what doesn't. It defies expectations. So that does happen, and part of it, yes, is science, part of it is art, and part of it will always, in anything, be a bit of fortune.
Again, the final control lies with the consumer. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So I think it's not a completely lost battle. These platforms, they do have their core power lies in the fact that we as consumers are utilizing them.
Okay.
So that they
Well, hopefully that Facebook is showing me what I really should be seeing, and not just showing me all sorts of things on my, I mean, I get to see dogs and cats and construction videos and cooking videos. I don't know where in my algorithm says that I love all of these, but that's what they keep sending to me. Diksha?
Facebook's news algorithm is going is degrading by time. It will lose its consumer. That is happening. Trust me.
Okay, so then is the hunt for new platforms. Platforms also live and die. I remember, we were talking a few weeks ago about when we began social media. It's all about Orkut, and then Google bought it, and then who knows what happened, then MySpace disappeared.
They do also have a very
Okay, I'm short of time. I need to take a break. Okay, Diksha, go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Great, Raghav. You put a lot of great points. So thank you for
Thank you,
great aspect in terms of Facebook. So I like to add only 2 pointers. First pointer, like you mentioned, that when are we going to make our own platforms? And point number 1 is we cannot make software and rule the world. We just cannot. We have to make our platform independent. We have to make the hardware. If we talk about phones and Android like operating systems, first of all, we need to design the phone. Then second layer comes the operating system, then the application, then other part. Everything is entire possible if everybody comes together. And talent, if you talk about talent in terms of software, PCB designing, assembly making, manufacturing, and complete packaging is there in India. But the only point is their acceptance. If India is making, people are making them like, okay, you can do that, but there is no acceptance. Like Raghav said very correctly, Facebook is degrading. It is degrading. There are very major factors, but I'm not going to go into nitty-gritty details. But why this is degrading? Because we are bored. We are human, like what Tejas has said. We are human and we are bored. The human connect is missing. I'm okay to go with my friend on a playground and play football rather than playing PUBG, right?
Okay.
I'm going to get bored. I'm going to get
For the
sad.
record, I've never played PUBG.
Neither have I. But now it's too late. Anurag Batra, it's too late now. You'll have to go abroad to play it.
That's definitely going to die one day.
Okay. I'll just throw out an example. Amit, come in on this. I mean, you look at the Jio strategy, for example, right? First, you buy the fiber optics. You start installing the cable many years ago. Then you buy out the 4G licenses, so you own the pipeline. Once you own the pipeline, then you start developing your apps, buying out content agencies, media agencies, so that you start owning the content. It's an A to Z sort of a logic strategy. In defining this, do we see then that becoming, a wholly Indian platform? Because even then, a Jio will work out of potentially Android or Apple phones.
I think.
But why don't you let Amit take that? Amit, just your random thought on this.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's platform, having a platform which is local, it's a matter of time. There's a lot of push that is coming up from the government also. But I think with people clearly are seeing the dependence on Facebook, Google, and how they are playing an important role in acquiring customers, I would say. It's a matter of time before we would have a platform which is localized and serving a pain point of the Indian consumer. So I'm pretty hopeful on that.
Okay, so Arun, before we take a quick break, why don't you just come in on this? Because
And then Rishabh, just
Yeah.
to support what Diksha said, you and me, about 6 weeks back or 7 weeks back, we discussed as long as, China controls the semiconductor industry
rare
and
earths.
Taiwan produces them. I mean, you cannot dominate the world. Diksha is making an extension for the
exactly,
same point.
I don't know. I've gotten sick and tired of mentioning that you need a fabricator in India. We need a fabricator, a silicon fabricator in this country. I can't believe we don't have one, and nobody seems to be building one. I can't refuse to believe that we can't cough up the $20 billion is required.
Yes,
Diksha,
exactly.
go ahead.
I agree with all the pointers. I really emphasize on this. Why we are working on a lot of laptops and Intel, I mean, I should not name it, but there are microprocessor. Why cannot we make microprocessor? We make a lot of rocket science. We do a lot of rockets and we make a lot of things in the science industry. Why don't we make in some certain in
No,
tech
the point is,
industry?
until you can't make it, you will forever be
Yeah.
hoping that Vietnam is making it instead of China, and that's your best bet, or the Koreans helping out. Okay,
And-
quick
and-
last word,
and
Arun.
let's not forget, we made them, right? I mean, Indian contribution in silicon and
Yeah, and this is where I began this conversation, Teja ji, that we wait for Indians to go abroad and then start heading Google and Microsoft, and then we say, oh, look, they're successful. We need to be looking within India and finding the successful people right here and then equipping them with a silicon fabricator. Arun, for a business that is predicated on physicality, right? That a person is visiting your premise, putting you in charge of an important family member so that they can carry on with their activities. In your view, customer acquisition is, did you have a digital push in customer acquisition, that your brand building was all digital based?
So we were a digital first company, actually.
Okay.
And a big part of our strategy before COVID was taking early education to home rather than bringing kids to the preschool. We believe that kids spend a vast majority of their time at home, and it makes sense a lot to actually engage the children more meaningfully at home. So we designed a lot of, I would say, active engagement for children at home. And our push was digital. When I say digital, its customer acquisition was digital, whereas engagement was physical. And when COVID struck, I mean, before pre-COVID, the only difference is we used to be an ancillary to education, ancillary to engagement. Now we are in driver's seat of engagement. We become the primary source of engagement and interaction for children. That's the only thing that has changed for us.
Okay.
And because we were a digital first company, we were able to, I would say, more leverage the situation.
Anurag Batra, we were talking about digital platforms. Has the time come in our economy? Is this the pivot point where we talk about manufacturing, service, agriculture, and mining? That now we need to talk about what is the digital sector of our economy?
See, I'll tell you, Rishabh, let's step back a little. I've said that this is a country that only celebrates success. It doesn't celebrate failure. And there's nothing called failure. Failure is experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. In our schools, we tell our children, you can't fail. You can't pursue your hobby. You have to do. So I think the Prime Minister in the last 4 years, by doing Startup India, he's an entrepreneurial Prime Minister. He's tried to change the mindset that it's okay to fail. There's nothing called failure. The project fails, the idea fails, the person never fails. So I think that mindset has to change. The day we are ready to become a product economy, see, we are with all humility, and we're the sweatshop of the world. We are the back end of the world. We are, we are producing for the world. We have to build our own products, whether it's in education, whether it's in any sector, healthcare, media. We didn't build a LinkedIn. We didn't build a Facebook. They call themselves tech giants, which they are, but they're also media tech giants. So I think that culture is changing. Companies like Byju's, companies like White Hat Junior. White Hat Junior's motto is to create more creators of digital products rather than consumers by learning coding. So I think that mindset change is happening, and do not underestimate the power of the Prime Minister's. But some people I know make fun of it. what he is doing today may have an impact 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now. And I want to again say to all of you on the panel that at least on our BW Business World and NewsX 6 to 7 p.m. show called the Atmanirbhar Show, we've had between 5 to 10 entrepreneurs who actually benefited from the economic stimulus. So they may be few and we need more, but the economic stimulus has reached people. But to Rishabh, to give you a direct answer to your question, I think we have a long way to go in producing product companies, but the process has started.
Okay, the process has started. So why Diksha, why don't you come in on this? You know, when we are saying the process has started, where are the shoots? Because we thought, okay, oh look, Flipkart is the shoot, right? And then you know it gets taken over by a foreign corporation, which is perfectly fine. You want investment to come. But where do you see the disruption happening? EduTech is what we're talking about. Arun will stand up for it. There are big companies out there and a lot of people jumping into this space. But do you see companies that are going to become global disruptors, or is conquering the Indian market enough?
Okay, there are three factors. Thank you so much for your question. Well, I think the complete segment in India, and of course 2020 agar hum leke chale. So 2020 is a software, like we are very good in software. But when we talk about hardware and infrastructure, then we really need to talk about, like you said very correct, that we need to get our foot inside the semiconductor zone. We have to create, like in any of the laptop we should have made in India semiconductor. We cannot say just by creating an app and we are the giant. We cannot just say that, because becoming a giant in any of the sector, it needs not only the software aspect, you actually hosting something on the server, which is again your third party. You use a third party. So I think becoming a complete holistic approach in terms of India, of course we cannot do it tomorrow, but I think we need a support from government. We need support from each and every
let's
big
define it. No, why don't we define it? What I mean, I've already told you silicon fabricator. You have my two hands up. That's going to cost $20-30 billion. Okay, so you need at that scale maybe even the biggest companies in India can't just cough up that in the next couple of months. But you need support. What else?
There is a psychological impact. Like Anurag ji said very correctly that kya hoga, kaise karega? You are very young. You cannot do. You can fail. People told me in 2017 you cannot do it, Diksha, but right now I have great products and great clientele in hardware. We create and manufactured hardware, design hardware in India. So I think if you will it, you can change.
Okay, so it is possible. Okay, I'll tell you that if you want to win the 6G race, you have to start investing billions now. Okay, this year to win 10 years from now, because we already lost the 5G race. We can check out Huawei, but in the end, you'll have to buy it from either the Swedes or the Koreans in the end. Raghav, you want to pick a point? Raghav, go ahead.
So yeah, I think I would also like to highlight one sector which is getting missed, is the enterprise technology sector. A lot is happening in that sector itself, because the entire software as an economy is moving towards software as a service. And in India, I think, like at least in my experience, I have seen that India is slowly kind of, becoming a major competitor for the number one company.
No, define it. Raghav, are you saying from the time when we were an IT major because we did back office jobs to the point where we are creating products? As that pivot point comes, do you see it?
We are creating software products, B2B software products, enterprise software products, and that is like, at least I in my network see a very strong awareness and movement in that direction. People are aware that instead of service company, let's go for a product, build a product. And India has set right examples also. Zoho is one example, which is a product company that we have created out of India, and it is kind of challenging companies like Salesforce. Freshworks is another example. The entire the culture, at least when I talk about being from engineering background, I see a lot of awareness, a lot of enthusiasm among entrepreneurs to be able to build world-class software.
No, I'm trying to be reflective of that.
Your data is actually going to Amazon, right? Are you hosting your own data
center?
So
I love to have this I need 3 more hours to have this conversation. So we need our own data servers at a scale unimaginable before. Okay, and as much as I want Elon Musk to come to India, I'm hoping we can make our own electric car as well and send it to Mars. We'll send one to Neptune. Amit wants to make a point, and Teja ji coming to you next. Amit, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add the products with regards to e-commerce sector. So one of the trends we have seen is brands looking forward to having their own brand stores, their independent brand stores where they can directly reach to customer. And you would have seen a lot of direct to consumer DTC brands coming up, where they don't have a lot of infrastructure in the offline, but they're directly reaching out to the customers.
Yeah.
And their push is there on building a product where they can have their own technology, which is as competent as the likes of Amazon, Flipkart, etc. We, in fact, at ANS Commerce, are building products. We have a product called Cartify, where we host brand.com solutions. So as of now, we're powering about 70 brands, where on a monthly basis we manage.
No, explain
about 15
solutions.
million
What do you mean by
consumers.
solution? What does the solution mean? What do you solve?
So it's basically it's a solution which lets brand have their own .com
Okay.
and acquire customers and reach out to their customers.
Okay, so it is still possible to get customers driven to your own website rather than all of us searching
But
on
white
Amazon.
labeling. It's, Rishabh, in traditional digital term, it's called white labeling. So where it's like the back end is called and you are able to retain the data and customers that your technology allows you to do. The point is that the consumers have to have a faith in your brand and your offering. You have to have that pull. And when you build for India, you have to build at global standards, because Indians have got used to consuming every product and service area products which are global, which mean they are the best in class. I want to ask you, Rishabh, to all the entrepreneurs on the show, what is one advice that you have for entrepreneurs watching this show? Let me start with Raghav. Raghav, one advice that you have for everyone watching this show.
I think in my last 10, 11 years of journey as an entrepreneur, one thing which I realized and learned the hard way is focus and perseverance. These are two key aspects of building a great enterprise. So, like, just to share a very quick anecdote, like initially there were a lot of things we were doing as a company. When we started, that was around 10 years back. But eventually, with time, we realized that our core strength lies in a couple of things, in analytics and performance marketing. And that is what, we got rid of all other offerings that we had as a company. And that is where the growth started to happen. So I think people who are just starting up, it's very important to, understand and focus on that and just build and go deeper and deeper into that piece. So if there's one thing which I would like to share with fellow entrepreneurs, it would be to understand that particular, what is the key focus and mode that you are going to.
Okay, Teja Gudluru, why don't you take that? I mean, what's the lesson learned from Udo now?
I think it is to persevere. I think to have the belief. I liked what Anurag said in terms of now we have a prime minister that talks about being optimistic, that talks about, it was almost like we had given up in the last few, the last few decades. That okay, manufacturing, all of this is China's game. Let's focus on anything else that China is not strong at. And I think now the narrative is coming back to say, you know what? We can do everything that China can do because we have all the resources and the skills here, right? So I think it is to have that belief to one, and two, stick to your basics.
Okay, I'm just curious, Teja Gudluru, but do we now need that large, expansive approach where maybe 5 years, 10 years, that we are securing the rare earth minerals that need to come in, we are securing our lithium resources, we set up the prefabricators. Do we need a 5-year, 10-year plan to to ramp up digital to the next level? Because AI is already here. It's not coming. It's already here.
I think we've had 5-year, 10-year plans since independence, Rishabh. I think.
No, I'm not talking about those plans. No, not those. Not planning commission plans.
No, I get that. But in terms of the verbiage around it, we've always been looked at that. But I think what is critical, and if you were to look at China, domestic consumption of their products is unmatchable. There's no Facebook there. There's no Google there.
Yeah.
They have their own versions of it. And when they empower their own companies with so much of business, they are now ready to take on the world.
Yeah, but they build these companies by banning the Facebooks and the Googles and the Twitters, right? So you get the Weibos and the WeChats.
So while it is for security reasons, the message from the government is loud and clear, right? So we want to encourage local companies. If you look at any of the e-commerce site, when was the last time you saw almost every product brand themselves proudly with an Indian flag?
It's happening. I promise you, we had this conversation 3 months ago based on simple logic that if I want to go online and purchase, I don't know what's Indian until I receive it and it says made in China somewhere. And I believe many of these Chinese products have even started dropping that to get around this. Arun, quickly come in before I hand back to Anurag. In a practical sense, what I was trying to say is that certain things entrepreneurs can do and certain things you can't. I was talking to an entrepreneur, he said that, look, no matter what I try, some part of my product will be sourced from China. I don't have an alternative. I can say 80%, 70% I can get from different countries, but one particular chip or one particular component I have to get from China. So in this regard, do we need a plan where we're thinking about, do we have access to rare earth minerals, battery manufacturing capacity, solar panel manufacturing capacity, your data plants, servers? Do we need a larger vision on that?
See, my opinion on this is, in fact, I had a slightly different thought on the earlier communication also. I think the commerce and economies are far too interconnected for us to put in silos anymore. It's far, far too interconnected. I don't know, I mean, you can have hardware here, but the money for the hardware may come from somewhere, right? You can have a complete security system here, the chip may come from somewhere. So you don't know which part is sourced from which location. So in fact, if you take a step back, what is more important, and in fact, what has actually led a lot of these larger companies to actually succeed and thrive outside India in various economies is actually the laws of the land is what is more important than where this comes from. As long as there is clarity on the laws of the land and what can happen, what cannot happen, it doesn't matter whether it's Facebook is doing it or Google is doing it or any foreign company is doing it. You got to respect the laws of the land. Right?
Okay, but the laws are changing. Now the Europeans are taking on Facebook, right? I mean,
exactly right. You can have the same company doing a very different approach in a different country, and they can take it granted for in India, right?
Yeah.
Now, as long as that doesn't happen, to me, it's very. It is. I mean, so end of the day, if the laws of the land is not respected and if it's not implemented.
Okay, but do you think, Arun, are these platforms changing? Do you think, if the big brands boycotting Facebook only, played a moral lesson, but Europe, for example, I believe that you're now seeing that for the first time in some European countries, Google will have to pay for the news that is searched of their website. They'll have to pay the content creators.
So that's when the real, I would say, transformation happens, because then you are preventing not just global players but also local players not breaking the laws of the land.
Okay, it wasn't very long ago, Diksha, that under the US stock market, Google was listed as a financial company because the amount of assets they had deployed in the stock market exceeded 70%. They were making so much money and did not know what to do with it that 70% of their assets were deployed in the stock market. So they were classified as a financial company. Not anymore. But are we seeing the complete hegemony of these platforms denting? Is that happening now? Lots of you guys have apps. I've seen a lot of apps that have millions of users now.
Yes.
Rishabh, it's not, in my view, I mean, Diksha will come in, but I want to give you my considered view. I think Google and Facebook are not going anywhere. At least, I mean, never say never. Who knows the future? I'm not an astrologer. I'm not a futurist. I very little here, but that doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
I don't think they're going anywhere. One, they continuously invest in innovation. They incubate people, incubate ideas, and they're thinking 10, 20 years. And they have the advantage of money. So they can take big bets.
So
they can acquire companies.
So the question begins is when do we start making that same kind of investment? Diksha, take it.
Yeah, so I think it's a good question, and Anuragji added pretty well, but that's a kind of mindset that we have, that these guys are giant and nobody do that. If we go back and see like what happened with Steve Jobs, there are IBM companies who are pretty big at that point of time, but he take over and then things are changed. So I think we need to make sure that what happened with Facebook, like you mentioned very correctly, there is a breakpoint that's going to happen and it's going to shut it down. So that's very important. Like what happened with biometric. If you see biometric after COVID, it's zero. Face recognition is going to be zero. So be very particular about like what Arun said, that laws is important. Yes, of course, if we make products like Indian products, the GST has to be rebate, has to be supported, right? So that's one point that the government has to support in terms of giving us rebates in the Indian products, not on white labeling at all. It should not appreciate it at all. That has to be there, the rule number one. And when we talk about Google and Facebook and all that matter, Facebook going to shut down pretty soon. That's something that I'm going to say clearly, absolutely fine here, because most of the apps company not going to sustain. The reason behind what new you are doing. You cannot make an Ola, you cannot book a Uber from a Facebook, you can do that either. But what else you can make? I mean, it's absolutely on the phone. What else? Maybe the next future is wearable, maybe the next future is on the skin. So you have to, maybe there's glasses, right? So next future, adaptation is very important. Maybe a company is there in India who are actually working 20 years ahead and they might acquire Facebook. So I think that mindset has to be correct.
But Facebook is already Facebook
Yes.
is already acquired WhatsApp. It's already acquired
Yeah,
Instagram. So I
you
think
know,
they're already looking
I think
all
into
matters
investment
this
is-
is
side.
a longer debate on whether
Yeah.
what will stay or not. I want to end the show with what
Yeah.
we do. I want to ask for a quick Twitter-like answer to my question. I want to start by asking Amit, and the same question to everyone. So you know the question. Give me an answer. When do you see the Indian economy in full bloom? When do you see it coming back? 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months? Amit, first you.
I think we're all waiting for the good news of medicine hitting the market, and I
Yeah,
think
we know that that's a variable. You know, when will the vaccine come? But you know, not knowing when it will come, what's your view? 6 months, 12 months, 18 months?
I think it'll go
We
back.
can
to
do the answer, of course. You know, we give you like the date also, 24th September
And-
2020. You know, but we don't know that. So that's why I'm asking you. What's your sense?
I think at a very high level, I feel 12 to 18 months. I think 18 months would be a good time for us to say that it'll go back to being normal. But anything beyond that would be anyone's guess.
Teja Gudluru?
I think at a minimum 18 months, and whatever happens after that. I continue to stay optimistic, but 18 months, I think.
Raghav Kansal?
I think 12 to 18 months is what I would bet on. And I also believe that, once the vaccine is launched and it may bounce back really fast. It's quite a
Arjun?
possibility.
Arjun? Arun, sorry. I called you Arjun. Arun. No wonder you didn't respond. But you guys are the Arjuns battling out. So, you know, figuratively speaking, male, female. Arun,
Anurag, again, let's say you have the vaccine today, I would bet on a 6-month recovery. I mean, it's just
and
Indians
if the
are so
vaccine is
stupid.
delayed, and if the vaccine is delayed,
I think we'll learn to live without it in 12 months.
okay.
The natural vaccination is already produced
Yeah.
by your
I
immune
don't see
system.
I don't see a longer than 12-month recovery path on this.
Diksha Deo, your final word.
About what?
On me, 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months?
All right. So I think it will take time. Economy going to back by 10 months, I think. But people should actually accept Indian products, not white labeling products, to be honest. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I
Okay.
think there will be a premium on any product says made in India. It's-
Yeah.
value
I'll
chain is India
happily,
integrated.
I will happily pay the premium, and I'm a poor journalist. But if the option is given, and finding the option is the difficult part right now. But this applies to every single person, and this is why we're doing this committed. You know, I promised you, a year ago, this show would not have been tenable. You did economy-related shows day-on-day basis. Nobody watches. But in the end, the realization has come that this is important because it's hit home. It's hit every single one of us, every single business. And I keep repeating where I started at. We are all in the same boat together. If all the people sitting here in their organizations and their apps and their businesses succeed, we all succeed. So let's wish them all the best. So check out Udo now, check out Flinto, check out Incubescence, and get in touch with these people. You can find all of this on digital, social media also. This show goes up on YouTube. Share it, guys.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.